Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. It's not your fault, OP. You didn't ask, he offered. That's clearly delineated behavior from your brothers. You're a part of the family. They only come around when they want something. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Accepted financial help from my dad after he cut off my greedy brothers. I, 31-year-old female, have two selfish brothers, 36 and 34, who don't communicate with me. I was never close to the oldest, but used to be close to the second oldest until he traded his blood family for one he married into. He's now divorced with two sons. My brothers have a despicable habit of only calling our dad or grandma for money. A lawyer fee here, a medical reason there, you name it. They're both financially stable for the most part as they both work, and my second oldest brother even co-owns two small businesses. I myself may not have all the things one expects someone my age to have, but I'm getting by just fine without having to ask anyone for money. I have the best paying job I've ever had and enjoy it, cook and help around the house to earn my keep, and can get myself places without having a personal vehicle. Dad texted the three of us calling out my brothers for only calling him or grandma with their hands out, never calling to say thank you, and worse, never called just to say hello. They didn't even call on Thanksgiving or Christmas last year. He pointed out how I call him and grandma time to time, never asking for money but always helps me if I need it. Said how his funds are seriously depleted because of helping them and that they need to get their crap together. He said he texted this so they could look at the message if they didn't even think of asking for money again. My brothers tried to deflect rather than reflect on the truth bomb Dad just dropped on them. That said, I have a stable enough income and savings now where I feel I'm financially ready to have my own car. A couple days ago, I browsed online for used cars and brought it up to my dad to get his perspective on what I felt suited me. He's been pushing me, gently, to get one and was thrilled to see I've been proactive. Before I could say anything else, he told me to pick which one I wanted and would help him foot the cost. I told him I'd put him what I could and would let him know. I called Grandma about it and she's proud of me, but told my brothers, who are now furious at me, not having anything, and how I'm depleting Dad and Grandma now. First of all, I didn't ask Grandma for anything but news on her health. She's recovering from a cold. Secondly, Dad helped them buy with their first cars, something I've never had, and offered to help me. He even got on them for lashing at me, saying she's proven she can hold her own without much help and shows gratitude, which is more than I can say about you boys. I know I should, but I started feeling guilty. This will be my first car, and I wanted my dad to be a part of this milestone, even if he's paying for it. But I'm putting up any money I can. He's not coming completely out of pocket. And our second story. Karen thinks I'm a cop and has a fit. Here's the setup of what happened. I was a 15-year-old boy at the time in the Police Explorers. If you don't know what that is, it's pretty much the Scouts except geared toward helping the youth learn about police and eventually getting a career in law enforcement. My father was a patrol sergeant at the local constable office, so he was a supervisor. The constable was close with most of his officers and was a family friend. He'd known me since I was around 6. I was in an explorer's uniform, so I did kind of look like an officer, but I was obviously too young. We had just gotten back from the Explorers and stopped by the station so he could take care of something real fast. I don't remember what, and so I waited in the front of the station for him. I sat down and put in a pair of earbuds to waste time waiting for my father. About 3 minutes in, I feel that uncomfortable feeling you get when someone stares at you for a while, so I look up and see her. It was the dreaded Karen, ridiculous dyed bob and all. OP, me, Dad, my dad, CO, the constable, Karen, C1 and 2 other police officers. OP, I take out my earbuds and look up asking, "Do you need something from me, miss?" Karen, she scoffed at me and said, "Finally, you shouldn't be on your phone on the job." She stops to look at my name on the uniform. OP, I'm going to have a chat with your supervisor after this. OP, I was a little confused, seeing as I'm obviously too young to be a cop, but felt like I could clear this up pretty fast. I make the mistake of stopping her. "Ma'am, I'm a police explorer, not a..." Karen, she snapped at me. Don't you interrupt me. I want to file a report, so go behind the desk and do your job. I look at her with a "you have got to be kidding me" look and decide I don't want to deal with this, decide to wait for my dad outside instead. I start to walk off, admittedly another mistake on my part. Karen's a bit taken aback at first, but recovers fast and follows me, yelling and screaming about how rude I am for walking away from her and how she's going to have my badge for treating her this way. Yeah, sure, lady, take my explorer's badge right before I get out. One of my dad's friends walked in. C1, hey OP, where's Dad? I need to talk to him. Of course, the instant he showed up, Karen jumped on poor C1 and starts going off on how I wasn't doing my job and I was rude. C1, he stopped her. Ma'am, OP's not an officer. He's a police explorer. Karen, she stops and tries to process what he said and fails to do so. Maybe she just didn't know what an explorer was? Who cares? It's his job to help me. Do you know who I am? The legendary response. C1 decided to drop trying to explain what a police explorer was and just decided to diffuse the situation. No, I don't. Look, ma'am, if you have a problem or concern, you should go to the front desk. They should be able to help you better. At this point, this is obviously causing a scene, and another of my dad's coworkers pulls me aside as C1 tries to deal with her. C2, OP, what's going on here? She asked me as we went a bit further away from them. OP, well, Miss C2, I was sitting here waiting for my dad, and this lady, I gestured towards her, started going off on me for being rude and not doing my job. I did the air quotes. C2, she looks at me, then back over to Karen and C1. OP, I'm sure C1 will take care of this. You want to wait in the back for D? I say yes and follow her to the back. About 3 or so minutes in, my dad comes out and sees me sitting in the back waiting for him with C2. Dad, hey C2, what's OP doing back here? Did something happen? C2, yeah, there was a woman up front harassing OP, so I took him back here to wait. My father talked to C2 and says he'll take care of it. He walks off to let the constable know about the disturbance up front and not to worry about it, then comes back a few minutes later. He took me up front to leave. The woman saw me and my father about to walk out and made a beeline towards us, completely blowing off C1 as she did. Karen, excuse me, are you a supervisor? My father, who literally towers over her, looks down at this Karen. Yes, do you need something, miss? Karen, yes, I would like to have a talk with you about your officer's attitude. My father looked down to me. I nodded at him as if to say, this is her. My dad was about to have a talk with her, but then the CO came up front. CO, OP, come to my office, he said in a commanding voice. OP, I looked up to my dad a bit, worried now. Dad, go ahead. He gently pushed me in CO's direction. So I walk over to CO and follow him to his office. Karen looked pleased, thinking I was in trouble, then turned back to my father. CO and I sat down in his office and I looked at him confused. CO, your dad told me what's going on. I didn't want you to have to deal with her. My wife made some cookies. Would you like some? OP, sure. I went ahead and took a few, thanking him. We sat in the office for about 2 minutes. Then CO took me out front. At this point, Karen seemed pretty upset, obviously because my father talked her down. So I walked over to my father and he went to talk with C1 for a bit. As this was happening, Karen decided to go to CO and started to complain. CO interrupted her and told her something about how I was clearly a teenager, not a police officer, and even if I was an officer, she was out of line for treating his officers and me the way she did. If she needed something else, she would have to go to the front desk like everyone else. I'm not sure what happened to her after that, as we left the station pretty quickly after my dad talked to C1 and Karen didn't come outside. And our last story. Fired a guy for confronting me in the lobby where my dad works. This happened last Thursday, by the way. My dad's one of the executives at a media tech company. Before COVID, I, 16-year-old male, was always there after school. It's a pretty big building. Some of the offices there are closed because people are working from home, so it's not so many people hanging in the lobby like before. My mom dropped me off there because my dad was in a meeting and we were going to go eat lunch after. I'm there waiting in the lobby with my backpack, and this guy from across keeps looking at me. He's there with some other people. The lobby's so big, there's always others that are there on lunch break. Then he comes to me trying to be friendly at first. Then he asks me if I work in the building. It's obvious I don't work there, so I don't know why he asked. Everyone else is in suits with their security pass sticking out. I told him I'm waiting for someone. He says only employees are allowed in the lobby because of COVID. It's obviously bullcrap. They haven't made any rules like that. But he wouldn't leave me alone. The security guy that was at the front even told him so when he tried to ask him to escort me out. He looked annoyed by then and telling me that lots of homeless people have come in lying about that too, so to just leave already. Security at the desk told him I'm allowed to be there. It was back and forth for like almost 10 minutes. I'm already pissed, so I told him to just F off already. When I told him who my dad was, he laughed like he didn't believe me and said I looked more like a bum than the son of someone influential in the company. My dad texted me then that he's outside, so all I said was whatever. In the car, my dad saw that I was mad, and after I told him what happened, he was asking me do I remember the guy's name, if he said which department he's from, or what he was wearing. I just told him what I remember. He ended up finding out who it was and called up his supervisor. They let the guy go. My dad says the guy should have known better than to lie or cause a scene like that in their building. He told me to drop it. I just didn't think they were going to go that extreme with it. My dad was really mad about it. I keep thinking about it now. If I shouldn't have said anything at all, he was being a jerk. Yeah, and I was mad. Does it make me an a-hole that I helped him get fired, though? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.